You just ate by listening a little bit. I promise you this will be very short. I also promise you that you don't have to listen to me the whole time, and listening to some of the students is probably going to be pretty fun. So again, thank you for coming to dinner. In my role in computer science, I run what's called the VT Blockchain Initiative. I just wanted to tell you a few things about that, and then we're going to go right to the student presentations. We have a number of activities on the Blockchain Initiative. We did the VT Blockchain Challenge, where we gave away $30,000 in prizes in May of this past year. We obviously have Blocksburg, and we do some blockchain boot camps here and there. We also do training education, so we have coming online are some certificates in blockchain and a number of courses in the department. We have about probably 50 or 60 students that have been involved in those courses over the past year. This whole thing started about 12 months ago, almost to the day. And we're trying to do hiring in people that have an affinity towards blockchain problems and solutions, and so that's ongoing as well. So that's what the computer science department is doing. In 2020, we expect to have more boot camps, another blockchain challenge, VT blockchain challenge. And we've also online another thing with in a partnership with Virginia, the Commonwealth of Virginia, in a program called Go Virginia. We have received money from the state to take some of these programs that we've done in-house for Virginia Tech students and expand them to the community. So to have professional development classes for folks in the community that either want to ramp up, maybe they're already technologists and they want to ramp up on blockchain technologies, or maybe they are folks that are in another discipline, maybe they do some kind of supply chain work, and they want to learn about blockchain, learn more about the details and how to implement. So those things are coming in 2020. I wanted you to be aware of. The next thing is, I have my students come up. You guys, come on, don't be shy. Told you I wouldn't talk long. So we did the blockchain challenge, Virginia Tech blockchain challenge in starting from January of 2019 to May of 2019. It was a generous gift from Block One to fund development of apps on top of the. Sit down, guys. They're standing behind me like. 3 chairs, 3 people. There you go. Students are shy. So we did the blockchain challenge. Again, Dan Larimer and Block One gave us a gift to be able to basically run a program that enabled the students to participate and to earn prizes at the end. And the one, if you wanted to participate, the requirements were that you develop an application on top of the EOS.io platform, and you had to develop something that would help the Hokey community. And so that was the only constraints, and we got a number of submissions. And what you're seeing here are representatives from 2 of the teams that were top prize winners. All these students at the time were undergraduates, and these 3 at least were involved in my capstone class, where we actually worked closely with Block One engineers. Block One not only donated money for the cause, but also for training. They gave us mentors from their engineering team, and I think Greg is here, Greg Lee. Greg, and led a team of engineers that helped all these students. Each team had 1 or 2 engineers that they could consult with as they went through on the programming on the blockchain. And I'll tell you about this course really quickly. I'm an entrepreneur. I have an entrepreneurial background. And I designed this course just to be for entrepreneurs. So the idea was the students come in, they have an idea for running an app on the blockchain. They convince me that it's a good idea. They do the background and check the state-of-the-art technologies to see what other solutions there might be available. They propose work plans. And if there's one thing that I do every week, if you remember, is I yell at you, right? At the end, every week. Basically, I have them create a software work plan. And again, having run a company, I basically hold them to task for the speed at which they say they can produce software, and they learn to be more conservative, I think, by the end. And if you've ever done this, you know what I'm talking about. So, okay, so what we're going to do here is I'm going to, as part of that project, we actually did film the entire blockchain challenge, and you can see that online. But as part of towards the end of the projects, I asked them to create a 90-second video that basically tries to sell me on their software. And what you're going to see for each of these teams is we're going to do the video, and then let them talk about their solutions, and then answer any questions, and then we'll do it again for the second team. So we have 2 teams that are going to show you what they did. So the first team, J.W. Wang and Nick Hardy, and this team was called Attend It. And if the audiovisual guys will go ahead and cue up I guess I have to push play, don't I? I guess I can probably do something like this.
Sorry, students. Skipping class is coming to an end. Attend It is the next generation of classroom attendance software. With the powerful backing of the EOS blockchain and peer-to-peer verification, we can guarantee the validity of attendance information. Let's show you how it works. Professors use the Attend It web interface to create their class. They can enter the area in which the class will take place, the CRN, and the time. Once the class is created, professors can start collecting attendance information using a mobile device. Professors select their class and then start attendance. The professor's device is now searching for nearby student devices in the marked area using Google's Nearby Connections API. The student will select the class they want to attend, starting their half of the peer-to-peer connection. If they meet the time, location, and CRN criteria, the professor's device reaches out and securely requests a username. When the professor's device receives the student's information, it'll mark that student as present on the blockchain. Once the student's attendance information is stored on the blockchain, the record can be viewed from the web interface. Attend It truly benefits the VT community as it helps both the students and the professors. With the powerful support of the EOS blockchain, Attend It is available to provide an effortless, secure, and scalable platform for all users.
How cool was that? That was pretty cool. So you can. Do we have the handheld mics? I think we might need a handheld mic. You can tell, I should have probably introduced it, is that was an application to enable the students to use a combination of GPS and the blockchain to basically get attendance. So you can see what students think about, and they're all about to graduate, or we're about to graduate, so they're thinking, how do I make sure the next generation doesn't skip class, right? So now they're going to tell you a little bit about where the ideas came from and the process that they went through. Go ahead, JW.
Hi.
I think so. Yeah, you're good.
Right, it is on. So hi, my name is JW, and my last name is Lee. I'm JW Lee, and here is Nick Hardy. And we're from the JW and the Blockchain Boys, and we developed the application called Attend It. So as you guys seen from the demo, we designed applications that focus on tracking attendance information for students. And the reason why we did that is because the current attendance taking system is really flawed. And what I mean by flawed is it actually takes a long time. It's really easy to spoof. It's not very secure, and most importantly, student actually has to pay a lot of money to either buy attendance taking device, like a physical device like iClicker, or to subscribe to a service like Top Hat Classroom. So I don't know how many of you guys have been in school for the past few years, but I'm sorry, I'm just trying to take a guess here. But yeah, so actually, there's majorly 3 ways people take attendance, either by hand, like professor will call your name, but think of like a freshman level intro to, let's say, chemistry class. You have 500 students, how are you gonna take attendance, right? So if you use the traditional way, which is name every student, that's gonna take forever. And if you do, let's say, an iClicker, every student has to buy an iClicker, and it's very easy to spoof. Let's say today I don't wanna go to class, I can just give my iClicker to Nick Hardy, who's my good friend, and he's going to do the cheating for me, and very easy to spoof. Another way is by attendance taking system like Top Hat. So that's one, the professor will give you a 4-digit code. But do note, every student has the same code. So if he has the code, he can just simply text it to me, and I would just use the code to say, oh, I'm here, but I'm actually not there. So that is why we designed and implemented Attend It, which uses essentially two gates, which is the geolocation and the peer-to-peer verification. So we make sure, even if you try to spoof your location, so the geofence would pass, but we also use peer-to-peer to make sure you're actually there. So the professor phone, as you see on the demo, would scan for in the student phone in a certain range. So you may be able to spoof your location because every classroom is every class in the same classroom, but you really can't spoof who's in class that day. So that is the problem we're trying to solve, and that is, as the demo shows, that is the solution we came up with. And I'll also talk a little bit about why we chose to use blockchain and why EO specifically. So as Dr. Cameron has mentioned, we have a lot of support from Block 1, which is really generous of them. So Greg over there, and I see Sergey, yeah, and Zach, who were our mentors. Like, they at least donated, I'd say 100 hours of their time to help us with this. So we have a lot of support from the EOS community to help us develop the application. Yeah, is there anything else you would like me to cover?
So now we'll take your questions before we go on to the team two. You guys have any questions for our students here? Oh, there's one. Biggest challenge of working on EOS.io?
So one of them was just C++ because none of us had done C++ or any into it. Another one was just trying to, along the way, make sure that the kind of way we were verifying people and making sure that our application actually made sense along the way. Like, the verification couldn't be spoofed. Because the hardest part was, like, especially during development, was that every time we would propose an idea, there'd be a valid counter argument to it. So it's trying to find that combination of tools to have, like, a verification system that holds water.
Yeah, any more questions? I'll also add that each of these teams was very successful very early. They designed a very good, I think, really thoughtful minimum viable product, and they hit that pretty early in the semester, and then they were able to add stretch goals all along. And so they were always at a position where they could release their tool, but they could keep adding stuff. Is it actively being used?
No.
Yeah. I mean, people really liked it, but these are prototypes. So in fact, a lot of the judges, we had judges, some of the judges are here. You can raise your hand if you want. There's a couple, yeah. There were a lot of comments that we got during both, when they were doing their thinking about who was going to win, and for both these teams was they could create companies, and they were saying, why didn't they do a market analysis? And I said, this is a computer science class, you know. I don't require them to do the market analysis too. Although they did some of that, but they just didn't present it at the competition. So no, but it could be. So the question was, using your strategy, how you guys divided up the problem and solved it together. Do you think you could have done that remote to one another, like Nick's in Seattle and you're here and so on?
I think we could have. We had pretty good separation among, like, our tasks as teams. Like, I did the smart contracts. JW did, like, some of the PR in the front end, and then the two other team members who aren't here did, I think, like, mobile front end and then a React version. Yeah. So right now, like, it was really easy for us to separate the work. Depending on, like, how we wanted to extend stuff, that might get a little tricky because as we branched off further, we could see places where integration would become more and more necessary, and we would start, like, tripping over each other in terms of getting, like, stronger user permissions and, like, logging in and stuff like that functional.
Yeah, we talk a lot in that class about integration, because usually what I get is, like, here's the 5 things we want to create, and then we'll give ourselves a week to integrate it right before the court's due. And if anybody's ever written software, usually it's the other way around. Like, everybody can do their stuff very quickly, but the integration takes a long time. So usually when they give me their first work plans, the first thing I say is, you didn't allocate enough time for integration. And again, minimal viable product as well. So these guys did a good job on the integration. They did it early and often, I think, right? So you probably could have done it remotely. Although, how many hours a week did you spend physically together? All 4 of you? 1?
At least like 10 hours. Yeah.
Together in the same room?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we did raid Block 1's fridge
every once in
Oh
a while.
yeah,
Yeah.
Especially
Block
Neil.
One had a lot of caffeinated drinks, didn't they?
You guys have good food.
Maybe one more question, then we'll go on to.
So if you would have a lot more time to do this, what's one aspect of your entire development process that you would have liked to spend more time on?
So for everybody, what would you have liked to spend more time on in your development process if you had more time?
Probably actually, so we actually interviewed a lot of students and professors to hear their opinion on the current attendance taking applications and what they think of our prototype, and we actually let some professors to use it. So if we had more time, I'd say to definitely to let more people because we're students, right? So that's our perspective. We'll probably let more professors to use it and for a long period of time, like maybe like in an actual classroom setting. So that's when you really see what more feature we can add on or what feature we need to take off, stuff like that.
Yeah,
Would you agree?
and to add on that, I would think I would like to spend more time on the ideation, like JW alluded to with like interviewing people, and like some of the conversations that came up when like Chandler and I were talking to Dr. Stornetta about like evaluating blockchain and its use in every application. Just like going and making our argument as strong a case as possible that blockchain is a valid solution to this, and that they're like the reasoning behind it is as airtight as possible.
Cool. So let's move on to Chandler. Ready, Chandler? Here comes. Okay, so the next one is called, basically, it's a replacement for Hokey Passport. So this is the students' ability to get into their dorms and to pay for things. So let's watch that, and then we'll ask Chandler some questions.
HokieChain is an EOSIO blockchain application designed to replace the functionality of the Hokey Passport. The HokieChain Android application and website allow for identity verification and funds transfer on any device, whether it be a laptop, tablet, or smartphone. Here's how it works. After you've logged in, if you'd like to transfer funds or pay for a good or service, type in the desired transfer amount, and a QR code will be generated for the sender to scan. Then, the sender scans the QR code, confirming that they agree to send the money, and the transaction is completed. Similarly, if you would like to verify your identity as a member of the Virginia Tech community, simply navigate to the verification page, tap the image of your identification, and allow the verifying party to scan your generated QR code. As before, if the QR code has already been used or tampered with, the transaction will fail, and the QR code will be shown to be invalid. With HokieChain, Virginia Tech can make commerce more secure and convenient for every Hokie.
How cool was that one? Music and everything. Production quality was really good. So now Chandler's going to tell us a little about his design process and everything.
So with HokieChain, the main problem we saw with the Hokey Passport, and for those of you who haven't or don't attend tech, the Hokey Passport is a card that's used for pretty much anything on campus. So getting into the football games, improving you're a student, paying for meals, paying for laundry, getting anything on campus, riding the buses even, is using the Hokey Passport. And the issue we found with it is it's very easy to lose. It's not convenient to have to carry it around with you everywhere. And so we wanted to solve the issues we found with it. And the way we did that was with HokieChain. So some of the benefits of HokieChain are it can be used on your phone, so there's only a single thing you need to carry with you. You don't need to carry your wallet and your phone and keys and everything. Eventually, everything will just be you and your phone. And so I think HokieChain is a step in that direction. And it's much more secure in that with the Hokey Passport, it's much easier for someone to take it or for it to be lost and you to lose access to it. But with HokieChain, as long as you have a device you can sign into, you can use it. And it's much harder for someone to steal and use on their own because QR codes are generated and scanned dynamically. Yeah, so that's HokieChain. Do you guys have any questions?
Why blockchain? I think
Why blockchain? Yep.
There's
We used blockchain because it's auditable, number one, so the university can look back at the entire history of the transactions and be sure that all the transactions were legitimate. And we also used blockchain because it was more secure. So because each student and each student's account has a specific key, a key specific to it, it makes it so that it's harder for someone else to gain access to your account. Let me.
Attended, and I think that we did get that question at the
We got that
at
question
the
last
challenge.
time.
Yeah. They did think about. I mean, that was one of the questions that came from the judges. Yeah. But these two teams actually were competing against each other pretty hard during the.
Yep. So we didn't have very much information on what the other teams were doing because everyone wanted to prevent giving away secrets and things like that.
Any questions? Any more questions for Chandler and his team? Yeah.
So is the QR code system intended to be used for like food transactions, or is it just student to student?
What's the QR code? How does
Yes.
that?
So the QR codes can be used for any transaction, whether identification, so something like getting on the bus driver would scan your phone, or something like sending money between students and paying for food at dining halls and things like that. So if you walked into a dining hall and ordered some food, the cashier would type in the amount of the transaction and it would generate a QR code, and then you'd scan it to pay.
I'll also offer more information based on a question for the other team, was that Chandler and his team were approached with the offer of financing, I think, to commercialize. Is that right? Did I get that right?
Yes.
Yeah. They didn't take it, but what's that? Why not? They're pretty busy.
Yep.
You can ask them maybe offline. Why not? Yes, sir.
So, if you look across the entire campus, what's the rate at which these transactions occur?
That's a good question. Do you have any idea? I don't have any idea. What do you think is the rate of transaction per second of Hokey passports?
I don't have an exact number. A fairly decent rate because it's used for everything on campus. So it's used to get into dorm rooms, and it's not scanned to get onto the bus, but you show it to the bus driver, and it's used for all food and monetary transactions. So it's used pretty frequently for those purposes.
What were the use cases that your minimum viable product covered? Do you remember?
Our minimum viable product covered general identification, so proving that you're a Hokie. That would be something like getting on the bus or attending a football game, and making purchases, which also included sending money to other students.
Right, it's proof of concept. There's one.
So if someone got the password to the app, does it no longer work?
Do you have? Yeah.
I can now go around logging and stuff
Could somebody spoof you?
If you gave your password to someone, yes, they could go around as you, but when you're identifying yourself in the app, before you can generate the QR code, it shows a picture of your face. So our intention was that you'd show that to whoever's identifying. They would make sure that the picture matched your face, and then you'd tap it and generate the QR code.
Wait, I'll come back to you, I promise. Yes, sir.
What's the difference with this? Is WeChat or HokieChain in China?
Oh, what's the difference between this and Alipay or something like that in China? So they weren't required to make something completely unique and different and had never been done before. But this was, how long ago? Almost a year ago. So
The main difference is we were attempting to not have a kind of universal monetary system, but something for Virginia Tech to replace the Hokey passport. So our goal wasn't to compete with something like Apple Pay or Samsung Pay or any of the big payment processors, but it was to facilitate students using the Hokey passport on campus.
there was one right behind you, yeah.
Did you guys consider any kind of biometric, sort of a future version of biometric sensors to verify that you are the Hokey, whether it's fingerprint, just integrating that kind of technology?
Did you consider biometrics?
Yes, we did. Because it's primarily phone-based, at least for the users, we also made a web app. But because most of the users would be using their phones, we think it'd be fairly easy to add in because most of the modern phones have APIs for fingerprint or Face ID or what have you.
You back again. You were very patient.
How do you balance the safety of this app with the time it would take to generate a QR code for every transaction?
Safety of the app versus the time for the QR code? Do you mean like the QR code expiration?
Yeah, so like with the current Hokey passport system, it's kind of a fairly quick system, especially at dining halls and stuff like that. But I feel like the QR code would maybe take a little more time to generate. So I'm just wondering if that's something that you consider.
It's instantaneous though, right? So
Yeah,
how long?
it's pretty fast. So we never ran into any issues with how fast it would occur.
Yeah. Were you running it on EOSIO? Is that the question? Were you running your own blockchain? I think so. Let's
We
open
were.
all the questions up to both teams now, but go ahead.
Yeah, we ran our own blockchain, and I think they did as well.
Yeah, private.
Yeah, private blockchains. Any other questions for these guys? Maybe one more? No? Well, it's been my pleasure to work with these guys. In fact, I hired all of them into my group, right? They all still, lucky for me, they still work for me. JW is going to Microsoft in January, I guess, right? So we'll lose her, but the other two guys are still stuck with me for another year or so. But anyway, can we just give, I think they're fantastic. We're terrific. This will end the session tonight. Let's give them one more round.